Recording is in progress.
I want to see you.
No, I don't want to see me. No, people want to see you. That's why we're talking. That's why I'm talking to you, Uncle Phil.
Well, I
Everybody calls
appreciate
you everybody calls you Uncle Phil. Does everybody call you Uncle Phil? Or does a lot of people just call you Phil or Mr. Rinda?
it. No one calls me Mr. Rinda.
Yeah, they don't do that anymore.
I would say it's been interesting. Like early in my career, Uncle Phil, and then in pre-career, Uncle Phil, and then pretty much Phil, and then lately, I think that like now, like people call me Uncle Phil. I think they're almost like winking at me. It's like they know my like where I like who I was or something.
Really?
Like,
Like,
yeah, it's funny. Like I get Uncle Phil's, and I think from people who remember me from Blogger or from, from
oh,
like
I
the
see. I see.
yeah.
Well, I don't. That's not why I call
I
you.
know that's not you, but you've known me from before. Like
Yeah,
you
I just knew you always as
yes.
kind of, sort of as Uncle Phil, always.
Yes.
And now
I've
you're
been
in.
on, seventh grade. Seventh grade is when I got the nickname.
Is
So
that right?
yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
shit. I guess I should have known that. Yeah, yeah, I guess I know that. I guess I know that. But now you're an actual uncle. So
Yeah, it's true.
yeah, so you're always Uncle Phil. You'll always be Uncle Phil.
Yeah, I refuse to let my nieces and nephews call me Uncle Phil. They have to call me Mr. Rinda. They call me Mr.
and and they should always call me Mr. Rinda as well.
My sister Jen, her daughter, calls me Uncle Philly. That's what she calls me.
Holy shit, I didn't realize they were verbal at this.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Holy shit, well, time just really flew by. Uncle Philly, I am not calling you that. That doesn't that
You have to say it with that inflection also. That's like she's like kind of always like because I'm cracking too many jokes than I should
you,
for like
yeah,
I
you
scare
do.
kids by the intensity of me being silly with them, and
You
she's always
do.
like, "Shut up, Uncle Philly."
Well, maybe I'll adopt that. I do like the sound of "Shut up, Uncle Phil," but not Uncle Philly. That just sounds that doesn't stick with you.
Shut
That's
up,
a
Uncle Philly is your musical that you need to write. You've been talking about writing for
I have been
years.
talking about writing a musical for a long time, except for the fact I have no musical ability. But aside from that, I think it's going to be great. It's a thing. It's a total thing. And you're on the ride, man. You're part of it.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, that's why I want to talk to you today. I know you for a long time. How long? Since when did you start? Well, I want to get, yeah, let's get an overview. I actually want to get an overview of the Uncle Phil professional story, but then I want to go earlier than that, but let's start professionally. I met
Yeah.
you on the fabled and legendary Venture Brothers production in New York City at a studio called Noodle Soup. Is that correct?
Yeah, noodle
And
soup. Yeah.
that was your very first professional job. Is that right? Or were you doing something before that?
I did some stuff before that. My first, the first like art job I ever had was like a web design job. But like,
Really? For
yeah,
what?
I did. I designed for this company called CompTech Federal Systems. It was in South Jersey. It was after freshman year of college. I didn't want to like go back to dishwashing where I
Right.
had all high school,
Right.
and I got a job as like a web designer. So I was designing websites and like internal kind of like interfaces for
Okay.
the US Navy. Uh, so
What?
I designed uh, this thing called the Tactical Representatives Analysis and Information Network train. I designed the layout for that, and
Wow.
it was used on like the Aegis warships in the Mediterranean. Like they're like missile defense ships. So like these admirals would log into their computers, and like my shitty Photoshop skills would pop up on their
And
screens.
like a little icon of your face.
Yeah, yes.
Little
Always, always. I have a
Uncle
big giant signature on all
Uncle Phil,
best website, best web
little
design
Uncle
sign
Phil
everywhere.
face winking at
I,
everyone. That blows my mind. I had no idea that you did that.
yeah, Yeah, in South Jersey, in
In,
Mount Laurel.
incredible. Where? So wait. So you were already SVA.
I went to SVA for a year and I just didn't want to come back to South Jersey. Like I only came home one summer and that was the summer and I just didn't want to I felt like I'm going to art school now. Like I want to
Right.
enter. I mean, this is, this is apropos for you knowing me. It's like I just was like, I want the next thing.
Right.
And like, I'm in college, I'm studying animation. I don't want to just go be a dishwasher. I got to
Right.
figure out a creative job. Um, and then when I went back to school, my first year teacher, he sort of had a small little independent production company, and they were doing like little odds and ends animation stuff. So I got
Who was that?
his name is Eric Iser.
Hmm.
He was a teacher at SVA for years. He was a Beavis and Butthead character layout guy.
Okay.
And Eric was like one of my best teachers at SVA, and he's when I signed up for college, I was like, I want my first class to be animation because that's what I'm going to school for. So I didn't even like care about any other classes in the schedule. I just picked the schedule that made it so that the very first college class I ever had was animation, and it was Eric's class.
Okay.
So, and there was we had an awesome freshman class. It was myself, Albert Pardo, Chris Burns. Like we had some just awesome, awesome, Mike Oviedo. We had amazing classmates, and
Yeah, you guys are the cream of the crop.
it was really fun. So when I got back to school, I did an internship for him. His studio is called M3 Films or M3 Productions. They were
Okay.
like inside of Lucky Duck, which was the Linda Ellerby, Nick News
Oh,
studio. I think they were in like they must have been in Greenwich Village or like I feel like getting off at Christopher Street or something. And then I would like do flash animation of like dinosaurs adjusting their monitors for AT&T like compliance videos.
so you
Uh,
knew Flash?
I didn't know Flash, Steven.
Oh,
This
see,
is so
I
this is
see. I know. See, the problem with
didn't
our
know
conversation, I can tell
didn't know
right now, is
Flash.
that this could go everywhere all at once, and that's not. So let's. So all right, we'll get to that. We'll get
So
to
yeah.
that.
And then so
So
and I just say I know you want to get to the Venture Brothers. So I did that and then I worked at another web company and we did some work for Altoids because Altoids play into our origin story actually a little bit.
do they?
And then we did yeah, I don't even know if I have the drawings. So, oh, I do it right there. But
Huh.
we uh we did stuff for Altoids and then I released a Game Boy game. So I animated and art directed the Game Boy Advance game before
Okay.
graduating from SVA. So like I did all this
Gee, why you should have been busier, I think, Uncle Phil. You
I
could have done a
just
lot
wanted to
more.
work. I just wanted to work and and this is not a conversation about art school, but like, I
Why
like
not?
you didn't go to art, you went to high school for art, but you didn't study in college. And like, I don't know, art school and college for me, like I just wasn't getting what I wanted. And it was that weird moment where, CG was sort of happening.
Right.
People were using computers to draw or to composite, and like SVA was still like pencil test machines on VHS, and like
Right.
there was like an Oxbury class. Like there was this. It was like I got caught. So I was at SVA 99 to 2003, and it was like just a weird moment in the animation industry where like technology was showing up. A lot of teachers just didn't know. The teachers were sometimes they're a little old school,
Right.
and honestly, I don't think like some of what they were teaching me really sunk in until years later because they were almost going fundamentals, and I just was
Yeah.
like, I
I
want to
don't know.
make stuff.
You've taught, but honestly, my feeling, and I've taught maybe not as much as you, but I have taught. My feeling about education is always that nobody gets what you're talking about until
Mm.
decade later. Really, I mean, it's all about application, really, in a way. But I personally, I like that you were taught old school. And first of all, that's the character of SVA. Really, is the School of Visual Arts. Is It was a little bit backwards. I don't know if it has that reputation today anymore. But also that it's kind of that's New York. That's down and dirty kind of a thing. But anyway, but yeah, you were busy.
I was busy, and then we met on the Venture Brothers.
And then we met on the Venture Brothers. But give us, so from the Venture Brothers, just broadly, you went from the Venture Brothers
Yeah.
to Catbot. Is that
Yeah,
right?
I went back to the video game place and then I went to
Did you?
Catbot. Yeah, I
Okay.
went back to the video game place and then because I think Venture, right? Like it wrapped, we didn't know how long the hiatus was going to be. Um
No, that's typical of the Venture
yeah.
Brothers. You
So
never knew how long the highest was going to be.
I went back to the video game company. They were called WDDG.com, World
Okay.
Domination Design Group. Really, really fun
Okay.
place to work. Uh still tight with a lot of those people I met there.
Okay.
And then yeah, we did Catbot. So we went to Funny Garbage, worked on Catbot, which you have to blur, you have to bleep the name Catbot. We all
Yeah, we're
signed.
not allowed to actually. We've signed all sorts of NDAs for the rest of
I,
our.
I have one joke that I use whenever I talk about Catbot, which is I go like this, and I worked on Catbot for Disney
Wow,
television.
that's cool. I didn't know you could
I
do
want
that. That's really neat.
that's my one thing.
I mean, just broadly, Catbot was a production that I art directed in New York, and the first person I hired was Uncle Phil,
That's true.
because I felt like we needed him. From Catbot, Catbot didn't last very long,
8 months.
and
Okay, 8 months.
oh yeah, I mean yeah, it was an
8 months.
active 8 months
It was fun.
with some karaoke
And then I
involved.
moved to LA. I
And
moved
then
to
you
LA.
moved to LA. Yeah, after Catbot folded unceremoniously and prematurely, and my first reaction was to speak to Uncle Phil, and you were like, "Fuck this shit, I'm moving to LA," uh, and
Not
I
how
was
it went.
like, "Yeah, man, okay, what, what? That's not how it went."
I was nervous to go, and you were like, you can always come back. And like I give this advice that you gave me that's like so simple, but like, is a big move. And you had done it. Like you had started your career in New York, went to the West Coast, and then came back. And like I was just so nervous to leave New York, leave the East Coast, even though like I always dreamed of working at the studios in LA. I wanted to study in LA.
Right.
Yeah, it was a big scary move. So
I mean, it
yeah.
was a big scary move, but I remember, but your words exactly to me was "fuck this shit, I'm moving to LA." I mean, I'm not saying that it wasn't scary or anything. I'm just saying your reaction. I mean,
Well,
that's kind of like the Uncle Phil spirit is like what's the next thing? I mean,
yeah,
I have to keep moving. I have to keep exploring. And just broadly from there, you won an Emmy.
I did. Yeah.
And then at some point, things went kind of kerflooey, as far as you continuing to draw, and there was a switch in your mind that went off and said, "Fuck this shit." Like, I liked speaking to the people. I like speaking to the executives. I like kind of figuring out what they're doing.
Yeah.
And from there, it's probably better if you tell it. You did a
It's
couple
too
things.
long when it's better. I'm too long-winded when I tell it. Yeah, so I drew at Cartoon Network for a long time. I went to Disney for a little while, Disney
Right.
TV, Adventure Time, Gravity Falls, like
Right.
work my like the shows that people know my art from. And
Right.
then yeah, I went and I was like, I want to learn about being an exec and development. So Cartoon Network brought me back. I spent a couple of years at Cartoon Network kind of overseeing their development and shorts program. So like
Right.
Steven Universe came from that, Over the Garden Wall came from that.
Right.
Um, We Bare Bears, like it was great. And CN felt like home for lots of reasons. And I got a taste of like impact that was broader than just my drawings. I was mentoring people, I was helping people, I was like learning how the business functions. And then I got a job as a VP of development at Nickelodeon, like totally in the deep end, in meetings where I was like, oh, I'm on a slightly different team now. Or like I'm in the front office and I'm not on the field. Like I
Right.
can't be screaming like whatever, like expletives, cheering people on. I'm like, oh, I'm around people who didn't necessarily go to film school or aren't in this for the same. They have, people are passionate about animation, but like it's less about the craft maybe and more about the serving an audience or the kids business or the business around filmmaking.
Right. I mean, it's a craft. It's just not the craft that that I do. Let's say.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah,
then I
yeah,
did that
yeah.
at Nick for 4 years. I was at Nick and I watched the shape of television change. And then I got hired by Netflix to help start their animation studio. So I
Right,
spent 5 years, almost 5 years, 4.5 years at Netflix. It was a long time, and Netflix years is crazy because it's a really intense place to work. But yeah, I built Netflix Animation Studio, kind of the original genesis of it. It's
right.
a couple incarnations since, but it was amazing. And like I really think that we kind of helped change the industry for the better. We also were not perfect, and there was lots of mistakes. And I do think that like there was like the one of the most exciting things about Netflix was that like there was just a lot of investment in content and like maybe too much, right? This was the bubble that burst, and this happened
Right,
everywhere. So
right.
like, um, I think we did awesome things. It was great. I have people come up to me all the time, and they're like nothing was better than that. And it's what the cool thing is that people like remember stuff about kind of the community and culture and the way that, the leadership would talk to artists or the kinds of artists that people were surrounded with or
Right.
the openness. Like it's all kind of like this sounds so like egocentric, but like it's the stuff that motivates me and the stuff I care.
No. Yeah,
And
yeah,
it was
yeah. I
really
mean,
fun to execute on that and build a space that like that was valued. So it
yeah,
was
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I mean, people outside the business, I mean, the audience remembers the content. The audience remembers the shows that are produced, and they'll remember it fondly, and it's a reflection of their lives. But, for us working in the industry, we remember the productions, and like that was a shitty production. I mean, I can't believe I survived that. Or that was a shitty studio. I can't believe I worked there. But, when you remember the community, that's a pretty that's a pretty extraordinary thing.
it was
So
great.
I mean, so that is a great feeling, and I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm glad you had that experience. I'm proud that you. I mean, I'm not surprised that were instrumental in creating something like that. That sounds
It
like
was really
that sounds like an Uncle Phil thing.
And then it came all tumbling down.
Well, don't bring us all down. That's not the point of this. And now tell us where you are.
So yeah, Netflix, economy crash, Netflix streaming numbers, COVID, all the stuff. And honestly, like COVID was hard. I'm a people person. Working from home was really
You are
tough
a
for me.
people person.
So
Not me. I hate people, but you
yeah,
love people. I mean, you and I have sort of morphed into looking like the same person, but that will inevitably always be the difference between you and I. Is like I don't trust people and you like people.
probably shouldn't. I probably trust them too much.
No, no, no. There's a happy medium everywhere.
So yeah,
But
so I did. So when Netflix ended, I got a call from a former colleague at Netflix who was now working for the Pokemon company. So he ran our anime business out of Tokyo, and he had moved to Seattle to kind of oversee marketing and media department at Pokemon. And he called me and said, "Hey, let's get breakfast." Long story short, um, I got hired by Pokemon now a little bit over 2 years ago to sort of help build out their kind of animated storytelling being produced outside of Japan. So Japan still will produce a ton of amazing Pokemon content, but we're like, hey, maybe there's some, we're almost 30 years old. We're gonna make
right,
a lot. So,
right. So
so yeah, so
designing websites for the Navy to Pokemon, in like 20 years or something like that. What is it?
yeah, 25 years, something
That's
like that.
that's awesome. Let's back up though, because tell me. So that's your work origin story. But I actually don't
Yes.
know. I know some of your other origin stories, but we don't. But I don't know your creative origin story. No, your mom and dad are. I know them, and they're extremely supportive people from my point of view. Everybody's got their things with their parents. But I don't know, like, when did you start? How did like art enter your world? Like, when did you start drawing?
Yeah, I drew since I can remember.
Okay.
Like I think it's like the classic. I was a drawing kid.
Not everybody's like that though. It's interesting. That's why I always ask. I'm always fascinated because it always feels like, oh no, like because I also I can't remember a time when I wasn't drawing, but that's not actually necessarily true for everybody. But it's mostly true. I mean, if you're gonna do this, then it's just a passion you're sort of born with.
I
Um,
remember being in grade school with my best friend James, and we would, um, I think it was either that like the fold out dot matrix paper, or we would take paper down and we would like do these giant naval battles where we would
what?
like draw ships and airplanes, and like it was funny. It was like, and it actually like I think about it, it's like, oh, it is a lot about what I still love. It's like we would draw these things. I think we would like compete or something, not a drawing competition, but I think we were like almost playing a game of like these ships shooting each other and airplanes, and we were just drawing all these different things and like lines for explosions or bullets or missiles. And so we would just draw these big giant collaborative drawings together. So like,
Huh.
like I mean, I remember drawing for myself, but those are the drawings I really remember, is sitting down with James and doing these big like war scenes. They're almost always naval battles, I think, because it's just easier to draw a straight line for water, and then
Right.
and then
And
like
that
ships.
that prepared you for
For
designing
my, yes,
yeah,
direct
websites. That
line.
makes that I see now I see all the, I see the patterns of Uncle Phil's life. What were you I know you watched one TV show throughout your childhood.
What did
Uh
what did I watch? I don't know what you're gonna say.
in Living Color.
We did, as a family, we watched In Living
That
Color.
was in Living Color, but I don't know what was inspiring. See, I know Phil pretty well. What was inspiring your cartooning? What were you reading? What were you watching? I mean, and you know,
Yeah, it's
I mean,
funny.
Jim
Like
Carrey's pretty cartoon-like anyway.
yeah, I mean, I definitely liked Marvel Comics. Like I was a
Did you?
Spider-Man kid. I was a
Yeah.
Spider-Man
Oh,
kid.
okay. I didn't know this stuff. I didn't know what you were reading.
Yeah, I kick myself now. Like I've gone through a couple purges in my life, and I look
Yeah.
back and I got rid of a bunch of stuff. I had one of my friend's older brothers was into comics. He went to the Kubert school,
Oh, okay.
and I think pre-Kubert school, or maybe he was going in. Like he also was like, I'm done with comics, and he just gave me a stack of stuff. And he gave me some like original issues of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I
Well,
remember getting some. I guess it's John Byrne Wolverine.
okay. Yeah.
And then like I just had the stack of stuff, and like it had some like I think, oh man, it might have had some McFarlane Spider-Man, and then I think it had the Mark Silvestri Wolverine where he's like got that big gun on the cover.
No
Um,
idea.
Brown's like a brown suit Wolverine.
He was
Uh,
wearing a brown suit. Yeah.
Brown suit Wolverine. And like I just remember like looking at those and being like, this is really cool. And then so I just like honestly like comic covers kind of got me like the more illustrative, more
Yeah.
finished work. So
Yeah.
yeah, I became like a McFarlane guy. Like I loved McFarlane in the
See, this always fascinates me though, because like, yeah, there's I'm always fascinated to speak to people that we do what we do, because especially in comic books, there's like this kind of a schism where like nearly everybody starts off reading superhero comics. If you're into comic books and you're an American, you probably read superhero comics. But then there's the people that go that way who draw superhero comics, and then there's the people, like you and I and most of my friends really, who like suddenly something goes funny in their head and they're like, but I like funny stuff. So
I don't
how does this work? I'm
so
trying to
I'm
figure this out.
so I love McFarlane, I love Eric Larson, and then I get into anime. And then I find that like it was
Well, from
like
what?
I think it was that like pursuit of like I loved like I was like I had Heavy Metal magazine. I
Oh,
remember
okay.
like I always liked fantasy. I played tabletop wargaming back then, and like
Okay.
so I was hanging out at comic book shops where like all this stuff was happening, and that kind of counterculture, like the like comics aren't for kids, they can be for adults. And
Right.
then like learning through anime that like, oh, there is animation being made for all audiences, like kind of opened up my mind. I remember seeing Ghost in the Shell like opening weekend in Philadelphia. I think there
Okay.
was a re-release of Akira, like blowing my mind. Like I'd remembered some anime on television, but then I was like in Suncoast Video buying like, sale because anime was expensive. So like I would buy these expensive VHS Neon Genesis Evangelion is my favorite. Also, not funny, by the way, like not funny
No,
whatsoever.
no, this is funny.
This whole like, so I got into like this thing, and then this was interesting, was like as I got into anime, I started thinking more about like the craft of animation,
Right.
and then that got me back into the Disney classics. So like we had all of the Disney films from my childhood, and like Disney, I think
Because
was
your
just,
mom and dad bought them for you
yeah, we
and your
had, yeah, for
sister?
my sister and I, and we
Okay.
liked them as a family. We watched them.
Okay.
And I think like Disney has always been really good at the like behind the scenes books, the making of books. Like
Yeah.
they show a lot about the craft. So
Sure.
like as I was curious about anime, I could go and buy, I mean, I have I sh like, I remember my first copy of The Illusion of Life was given to me probably like maybe, I might have been a freshman in high school, sophomore in high
Okay.
school.
That's a good time to get
Uh,
it.
I got it early because I was just so interested in the craft. So
Yeah.
like got back into Disney, and then it was like, oh, like I like this. It wasn't necessarily funny. I think I still was like I wanted to make adult stuff, but
Yeah.
like I appreciated Disney more and more.
Right.
And
Right. Right. Right.
then yeah, I like funny is weird to me, Stephen, because like I thought I was gonna be like a Disney guy. Like I wanted to animate for Disney, but that was like almost the thing. Like I didn't have cable as a kid, so like funny cartoons that were happening on the cartoons I watched on TV were Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
Right.
And like they were old-fashioned and family and not funny in the way that I wanted them to be. Like Ren and Stimpy, I didn't know because I didn't have Nickelodeon. I didn't
Right.
know Cartoon Network shows. I didn't know them because I
Right.
just didn't have cable. I love DuckTales. Like that to me was like probably my favorite,
That's right. I remember
like
you're a big DuckTales fan.
love
Yeah.
DuckTales. I would rush home to watch DuckTales. Like
Yeah.
so that like adventure side, really, really stuck with me. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think
Well,
like honestly, funny drawing, like even in college, I couldn't do it. My friends could do funny drawings. I just didn't know how to do a funny drawing. And you taught me how to do funny drawings. Like
well, I mean, I don't know about that, but because I don't know. I don't know. I feel like humor is just built in, and there's all kinds of funny drawings. And, I mean, I'm not saying like, oh, Phil's the funny guy or anything like that, but you have a fantastic sense of humor. And I feel like, I don't know. There's multiple paths you can take in our
I
career.
think
But and I'm not saying you're exclusively a funny guy, but mostly you've drawn humor-based things.
yeah, I guess
And
so.
you
And
haven't really worked on, the Bruce Timm kind of things, or any action adventure kind of things.
not really.
So it just always
Little,
seems interesting to me that your comic books of choice were very adventure based. And then
yeah.
yeah,
But like McFarlane or Eric Larson, these guys are the cartooniest of the
well, this is true.
right. So like they're not the like I don't they're and even like I was gonna say like I guess I read Frank Miller, but like Frank Miller also like super pushed and cartoony
This is true.
like
That's true. So
you know
what was it? What do you think? So is that the thing that connects all the things that you liked? Was this kind of pushed kind of
hmm,
sensibility?
this is
Like
like
what's your aesthetic, I guess, is my question. And how do you feel like you came about it?
I think I like artists who put it all on the table, and I think cartoonists are doing that in one of the coolest ways possible. Like the people who draw funny are like putting something like I'm gonna say psychotic on the
Yeah,
page.
yeah. That's a good
And
word.
like and I think that it is like as like a person who appreciates art of all forms,
Yeah.
like like I there's something about a spectacle of the funny drawing that I find so cool. And I don't know why, like, like that like impressed with technical. I appreciate technical
Right.
ability, but there's something about cartooning that is raw
Right.
and that is not technical,
Right.
that like is about tapping into something expressive
Yeah.
And that's the piece that I think is like humor drawing. And maybe when I think about the action artists that I love, those action artists are also doing that. They're just kind of
No,
in a different.
okay. It's now I see it. Now it's making sense to me. Is like you're essentially equating as someone who grew up with those guys to a degree, not really knowing them very well, but just sort of seeing them as like, oh, they do Wolverine and I do Mickey Mouse or whatever it is. But
Yeah,
you're kind of seeing the same thing, which is true, which is actually true. I always call those guys cartoonists as a blanket thing. We're just
yeah.
cartoonists, but you're sort of seeing Wolverine and Mickey Mouse as sort of the same thing, as long as it's like a push drawing and
Well,
it's kind of visceral,
it's yeah, it's not about the character. It's
right?
about the
Or the
expression of the
intent or anything like
character.
that. I mean,
Yeah,
I agree. There's no such thing as a serious superhero. I just find that notion kind of absurd. So
yeah,
that you're seeing visceral drawings, you're seeing pushed,
yeah.
extreme kind of
And I think
expressions.
and I think like with all art, I think I really love it. Like I love Lynch, right? And like I love
Right.
watching David Lynch films, and it seems so like easy to say like, oh, I love David Lynch, but like a lot of people don't love David Lynch, or a lot of people might like say like, oh, I appreciate it, but really they're like they hate it. And I just remember walking out of seeing I don't remember which film it was, but in New York and just loving it. And one of my best friends from art school is in advertising, and he was like, "What did we just watch? I don't understand that. That was a waste of time." And he just kept talking. He kept talking. He kept talking about the film. He kept talking about it. Kept analyzing. Kept trying to dissect it. And I just started laughing. And he's like, "What's so funny?" I was like, "For this movie that you hate, boy." Are you engaged with it and it has your brain going and I'm like you're sitting on the golden egg like you I think you actually love this film but you don't quite realize like it's almost painful for you, but like you're obsessed with it. Like we just walked out and you've been, for the last hour, you haven't been able to shut up about it. And this is like, and you're complaining, but you're really not complaining. You just have all these questions and you're like, and and to me, this is like, artists that do that to me are like my favorite. And I think like funny
Oh,
drawing
right. Yeah. Yeah,
can
yeah,
be,
yeah,
I think
yeah. I
that's what
mean,
like,
your friend, I mean, yeah, your friend, everybody's tastes are different. And
sure,
people, the way people react to things, everybody's different as well. I mean, he might just like to have complained. But I know what you mean, in that, I mean, I just for myself, I have that same reaction. I also love David Lynch, and the more fucked up it is, the more, and it can't just, I mean, I've seen a lot of fucked up stuff and it's like, it's not entertaining necessarily, but when I see something that I don't understand that's hitting me viscerally, that's the best. And I've said this before, my first reaction to Kurtzman, seeing Kurtzman's actual drawings, Harvey Kurtzman's actual drawings, was like it really bothered the fuck out of me because I couldn't put my finger on it. I didn't know what I was looking at, but I knew what I was looking at. It hit me on a visceral scale, and
it's
and
cool.
that's kind of, it sounds like that's what you're saying. Um, but yeah, you and I have that. You and I have that in common. We want a visceral experience.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
true.
yeah, yeah,
Wait,
yeah.
when do we start the interview?
In a moment. This is all warm up. This is all. I'm just keep thinking about the Scarbo on your wall. And us five people in the planet who know who Scarbo is. So all right. So we backtracked to the extent that I wanted to. So now, but tell me, let's talk again about you pivoting from artist
Yeah.
to board meetings and stuff like that.
I have to revise your statement.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm still an artist. This is something that like I like constantly remind people is that like I as a human being am still an artist. I'm just not drawing.
Doubtlessly, doubtlessly.
I'm not drawing in
Why do you have a stylus in your hand?
well because I'm sitting at a Cintiq. I still
Okay.
I still sometimes I communicate my feedback through a drawing because in the same way an artist might write a note like an
Yeah,
exec might write a note
yeah,
like this was like a nice light switch for me at Nickelodeon one time was like I didn't want I thought I can't draw anymore. I can't
yeah,
draw. I'm now at a desk or on my laptop.
yeah.
And then like I just realized like wait a second when an exec sends a story note and they pitch a gag or talk about a potential solve or their impression, like they're writing. And I'm like, writing is an art. Like
Right.
I'm gonna just draw and I'm gonna like, especially as people who know me as an artist, I'm gonna be like, don't copy my drawing, but like I'm
Right.
just gonna show you what I mean.
Right.
So I
Now,
still draw.
right. Yes. No. Yeah, that's exactly right. So, but that's sort of my question is like, so I'm
Yeah.
I'm 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 saying artist and executive as things, actions,
Action. Okay.
as opposed to, but what I do want to know is like, so you're a really creative guy, like how did you feel like those two things, what went off in your head that said like, oh, that's like creative, but it's using like your brain.
Yeah,
Well, the thing, let me put it this way. The thing I loved about being an art director is I realized like it was creating art, but not with my hand. It was
yeah.
creating art by choosing the right people and communicating your idea, and to the best of your abilities, to the people you chose. And you chose each specific person to do the
Yeah.
specific thing. And you were always the funny guy. That's a funny thing. You were always the guy I went to for the funniest drawing, which
Uh-huh.
was interesting. But anyway, but yeah, so that was what fired off in my head, and somehow
Yeah.
you. I mean, I do want to. It is an art. I mean, I kind of feel like you know everyone that went on to create a show and was a showrunner. That's not an art I have. I don't have that ability. I mean, or I never even tried because it just didn't interest me that much. But like that's an art, is running a show. And some people like Gendy Tartakovsky can like run a show, that's his art, but he can also draw, that's his art, and he can also storyboard, that's his art. I mean, he has multiple disciplines, but but something in your head fired off and said like, oh, I could be creative, but like go into meetings, or whatever it is. I don't know exactly what your day is like, but does
Yeah.
that does that ring any bells?
Yeah. I mean, I think everything you said is like true, I mean,
Okay.
it's not like
But what was well? How did that like? How did it go off in your head?
it's gradual. Like, I was building Adventure Time. I was the lead designer, season one.
Right,
Penn I was all of a sudden one of the more experienced crew members. Like that happened overnight where I was like, wait, I
right,
was the young guy until I wasn't the young guy anymore.
right,
And I was building a team of artists and, I sort of knew the pipeline more than Penn did. And I what Penn unlocked in me is like you can build. Actually, it wasn't just Penn. There were a few people I worked with that were like, I can build a team where I really ask people to put themselves in the drawings. And it might make me as a manager uncomfortable, but like we're gonna grow the look and feel of this show. So I
right,
started just like, hiring people who either I knew their work or I believed in them in different ways. And I realized like, oh, they bring the raw talent. I'm going to help them understand how the drawing for animation works. Like what are the things that they need to know? It's not just about, the brute strength of awesome drawings. It's like, well, someone else has to draw this or like what
right,
is the structure? A lot of stuff that you taught me. And like so I was doing that and then I started teaching at CalArts during that time. And teaching was awesome because number one, CalArts is just an awesome community and the talent there
much
is
much different from
fantastic.
the School of Visual Arts. Much
Very
different.
different. It's different. And like the proximity to the industry is just undeniable.
Absolutely, yeah.
Uh, so that was a great experience. And then teaching forces you to reinforce what you think. And you have to like prove it. So I was like saying stuff about design and having to like prove out my theories and talk about people. And I taught my classes they were 3 hours long, and it was like an hour of lecture. It was no, it was typically like an hour of group critique, an hour of lecture, and then an hour of one-on-one critique where I would just do drawovers for everyone who did the work.
Yeah,
And I encouraged everyone to watch the drawovers, but you basically like could go do whatever you wanted to do, and you could show up for your critique or you could watch other people's.
right,
Um, and I started over the course of, a year or two, I started seeing my students improve. And and when I saw that, I was like, holy shit, like I'm affecting these people in such a meaningful way. And it's not like I am affecting their creative through my influence and not through my, it's not my drawings. It's someone else's, but I can like and I'm not the whole story, like I'm a piece of their journey, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
could, I could see it, I could feel it, and they were getting
Yeah.
stuff. So that was a piece of it. And then I went to Cartoon Network, did that kind of transitional job where I was still drawing, still working on everyone's shows, but I was, instead of working on a show for a year or whatever, I was working on 10 shows for a
Right.
year, did 10 different pilots and different art styles and hiring artists from around the world and and having artists in, basically hiring illustrators and cartoonists to inspire a style, and then someone else would kind of help really make it production ready. And it was just super fun. And I think I just was like, I think that's where it just clicked for me. It was like, I can, this is a really hard business. It's really fun. Like, there's so much opportunity for really interesting, exciting, creative.
Right.
Sometimes I would always, this is, I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
answering your question, but like, I used to be like, I don't believe, like, there's this, the executives are always the enemy. So like, when you're at Cartoon Network, the enemy was Atlanta because that's where all the execs were, like, oh, Atlanta. Or at Nickelodeon, it was New York, right? That's where the corporate office was, in New York. And like the executives are always this like they're the Wizard of Oz, right? They're behind the curtain. And I
Right.
just was like, I just don't believe that these are A, evil people, or B, idiots. Which, like, as an artist, you're like, they're just they hate animation, or they have awful taste or whatever. And I'm like, I just don't think that they get to these jobs by being dopes. And like, as an artist inside of a studio, like, you just assume everyone is like out to get you. It's so odd. And I just
Right.
was, I don't believe it. So I kind of was like, I want to understand that business. I think I think smart people can make bad decisions. And I
Uh-huh.
think and I think that sometimes good decisions, or the right decision, could have bad results.
Mm.
And and I just wanted to understand that side of it more. So yeah, I don't know. It was this curiosity of like influencing more stuff and like having more broad impact. Uh,
Right.
and then also like just being curious about the thing. And then also like just to be like honest and vulnerable, because I am an artist, is like I just didn't think I was that good of a designer, Stephen. Like I just was like, I didn't have the bug. I couldn't be a show creator. I looked at all these other people around me that were way better. And I just was like,
Yeah,
I'm
because they,
not gonna,
they give out Emmys to like all the lousy artists,
but
and
like
I know it's meaningless.
it's,
I know,
yeah,
but I
if I
mean,
want, it'd be different if I won, and like, and this sounds awful
a
too, because I don't
Pulitzer
want
or something. I mean, what do you want?
no, like I won an Emmy on Billy and Mandy, and it's amazing, and I'm really proud of that show. And it was a, a tough show for different reasons, and like I wish I had gotten an Emmy for Adventure Time, which, like, when I look at that show, I see and feel so much of me in there.
Yeah,
And it was so important to me in my career that,
yeah,
like, for me, that's the show that like means something for my career, where
yeah,
like it's funny that like that's not the show I was recognized for. So like
yeah,
and it doesn't really matter that way, like the awards don't mean anything, but like
yeah.
I don't know. And like, so yeah, I don't know. So part of me was like, I'm never gonna be as good as I want to be, and maybe the pursuit is just in the wrong spot. And I am a people person, and I
You
always
are.
knew that like I have this, I'm gonna say, a superpower. Other people have said this to me.
I do
So
it.
I'm
Yep, yep,
so
yep.
like
I
I'm gonna
agree.
say, that people are like, you have a power with people. And I could do it a little bit as a designer on shows, or as a, as a lead designer, or as an art director. But like I was like, I think I can impact. I want to talk to people more. Like I want to be in the conversation in a more impactful way than I
It
was.
is. I mean, you truly have a gift. I mean,
Well, thanks.
I mean, and just, just from my experience, I mean, I happen to know this to be true. I mean, my first experience with you, at the Venture Brothers was me going into, I don't talk to people easily. I didn't know anybody at the Venture Brothers. I didn't know you. And I walked into the lunchroom looking for a napkin, and you didn't know me, and there's a bunch of people there, and typically this would be my reaction, is to like not speak to the guy who's looking for something. But you're like, what do you want, what do you need? And I'm like, oh no, just look for a napkin. And then before I knew it, you were asking me like, how to draw a cartoon bee.
Yeah.
So and that's your ability. I mean, I'm saying it's not to ask about a cartoon bee. Your ability is to connect with people. And I mean, and it's pretty cool. I mean, it's you know, I think everybody's that's a broad statement, but everybody's born with a little something that they have an ability at doing, and you have a couple. And that's pretty neat. And you also have an ability to focus really well. You and you like to go into I don't know, this is my feeling. I mean, I know practically how this works, but you like to go into minutia of things. Like
Yeah.
like
Here we go. I love watching you plan out a transition.
strain for something. No. You got to stick with me here because I'm going
I'm
someplace.
here. I'm here.
Because now I want to pivot. I mean, I could bring up anecdotes, but I don't want to do that. But I know, since this is technically a comic book conversation,
Yeah, yeah.
um, that yeah, you came to me with like, yeah, was this at Venture Brothers? You came to me and you said, this guy, tell me more about him. Well, who was it? How
Hal Rasmussen. Hal Rasmussen.
like so this is Hal Rasmussen. What strip did he do?
Uh,
Be-
Maggie. What's it? Molly. I don't even remember. What's it called? What is it
I don't
called?
know. Alf Rasmussen, you came to me with it. I didn't really.
Maggie.
I mean, I knew his name. I knew his work. I think he did. I think he did an instructional book at some point.
Yeah. So it all starts. This is like, this, it all comes back to you, Stephen.
Yeah,
So,
it usually
right. So
does.
like, and this is the part that I know that this isn't about you. This is about
Not
me.
about me. Yeah.
But right, so I'm on Venture. I'm like, you blow my mind. You help me draw the busy bee. You basically give me in 30, literally in one sentence, you changed my view on like Mickey Mouse and like the nuance of drawing that character.
Okay.
I asked you like, oh, can you do some drawovers for me? And like you did these incredible drawovers. Um, and I think I just said, hey, can I buy you a beer?
Right.
And, can you do some drawovers for my work?
Right.
And then you're like, yeah, sure. So we went, got lunch or something. I brought my portfolio, you did a bunch of drawovers, and you just started talking to me about cartooning and funny drawings. And I think I just said, can you give me a reading list? Give me a reading list. And I have the paper somewhere still. It's in like an ephemera box, but like
Okay, but
it
Rasmussen
says
was
like
not on that list.
no, it says Kurtzman, but it doesn't say Kurtzman. You wrote Kurtz and you drew a little man because that's the Kurtzman signature, which
That's
was really hard for me to like go on the internet and be like, I don't know what this means. Uh, so it was Kurtzman, Toth, Gottfredson, and Kurtzman, Toth, Gottfredson. It might have just been those three, and then maybe you wrote like the the how to draw the Walter Foster How to Draw books or whatever. It's
Oh,
like
probably Preston Blair.
well, I think Preston Blair. So I knew Preston Blair already, but you were like, go back and look at it again, really look at it. And then I think it was how it was one of those big oversized How to Draw Comics books that you were like, I don't know how it came up in conversation because it was a collection of different artists.
Okay.
And I tumble. This is I like to crawl and look through stuff, and I like to go down these tunnels and look for
You
these.
do. That's yeah, exactly. That's
So
why I'm
in
bringing it
that
up.
book, in this oversized How to Draw Cartoons book, there were these really like weird, but like kind of illustratively flowy, noodly in this weird way, like drawings of girls. And I remember there's like a girl like leaning on a fence or a girl sitting on a fence, and they kind of like had like a pin-uppy inspired thing, but they were
Right.
kind of cuter and the eyes were really bizarre and everything was kind of strange. And I was like, and I think somewhere in there, it's like Hal Rasmussen. I think I like it either had a signature. And so I saw this, and this was probably within like weeks of meeting you. I
Okay.
stumble across this guy, Hal Rasmussen, and I
Right.
come in and I'm like, who's this guy? And you were like,
Yeah.
what? What crazy person are you that has found this kind of obscure strip cartoonist And that's how, like, I just sort of tumbled into how.
I'm still scratching my head about that. Not that Hal Rasmussen is bad by any means, by any stretch, and I want to go further into that about, but it's mostly about like, yeah, you like to go through these tunnels,
I
and
do
you
love, I
don't like
love
to
it.
find, like, I'm saying, like, oh, look at Kurtzman, look at Mickey Mouse, and you're fine. What about Hal Rasmussen? And I'm like, yeah, he's good. But so then not that long after that, I think when you moved to LA, after you moved to LA,
Aggie Mac is his book.
Aggie Mac.
Aggie
That's
Mac.
right.
That's the
It's not
strip.
a good
Aggie
girl
Mac.
strip. It's not a sexy girl strip, but it's a pretty
No,
girl strip.
it's a pretty girl strip.
He's
Yeah,
a very,
it's
very interesting style. We're having a conversation. There's no pictures in this, but anybody that's interested, go Google Aggie Mac and see
Aggie Mac.
what blew Uncle Phil's mind.
It didn't
So
blow, yeah, I don't know if it blew my mind, but I just was like, what's this?
no, no, no. You don't just like come to a guy and say, like, what about Hal Rasmussen without having your mind blown. I mean, that just doesn't happen. I mean, we're talking somewhat, he would have been somewhat famous in his day, but we're talking by, the 2000s, that's ephemera.
Yeah.
So but then you move to LA, and then I think I'm pretty sure it's after you move to LA, you like, I get a ping or whatever from you, and you say, like, hey, I love Pataruzu.
It happened in New York, actually. It was
Did
New
it?
York. Still in New York, yeah.
And I'm like, that's good. What's that? And uh maybe in LA you turned on to Carlos Nine.
Also New York. Also New York. So
Whoa, man, I'm a better mentor than I
you're
thought.
blowing it, but it's okay. So yeah, you told me I didn't have to do stuff, but like, yeah, so I have, here's like an issue of Pataruzu, right? Here's a crazy,
Yeah, where did you, well, just like going down more rabbit holes?
yeah, so like, there was this moment in time when the internet was amazing. It's not amazing anymore. It was like, this is like, I feel like such an old person saying this kind of thing. It's like, right, people had blogs, there was like stuff out there, you could interact with people in a different way. Like, social media didn't, not everything was like in one place. You had to dig. And I
Yeah.
like to crate dive. I like to
You're
dig.
you're a good digger. You're really
I
good. I mean,
love dig.
I've known some good diggers in my life, but yeah, you find very Uncle Phil things. Let's put it that way. So
So so at the time, and this was like Shane Glines had his website. I think he
right,
had just started his cartoon retro thing, and he's a digger, which was
right.
like really fun to see. And Shane and I have become friendly over the years, and he was digging for stuff. And then like I got, oh, you know who was on the list of artists? This comes back to you. Swinnerton. So on the list of people that I needed to read, or I needed to like educate myself on, was Swinnerton.
Really, I
And
wrote that?
you wrote Swinnerton.
Wow,
So,
that was pretty. I have a lot of foresight on my part. I wouldn't have
so
thought that I'd written that. Huh.
so I came across the Canyon Kitties, and then I bought a book called Hosting Crotchety, which is awesome, and it's a really beautiful book. And like, I sometimes I equate to like some of my favorite artists, like they kind of like draw like they're from alien planets, like they grew up like outside of what is popular, like they're
Yeah.
doing something kind of just a little bit different, little like they're
Yep.
seeing the world in a different way. And Swinnerton's definitely one of these people. And I love hosting crotchety. And then that I think tumbled into like like representation of Native Americans in cartooning. And then I went back and I looked at the Tiger Lily stuff and the Chief stuff from Peter Pan, which is like most of this cartooning is like wildly problematic and none of it ages well. And like,
Right.
the subject matter is potentially terrible, but there's just some absolutely beautiful drawing. And
Yeah.
it's largely because like Native American art and culture is absolutely beautiful. Like
Yeah.
it's really inspiring and really visually appealing. So I
Right.
think I was looking at that stuff, and then I think I just went online and I was like, cartoon drawings of cartoon drawings of Native Americans.
Ooh,
And I came across this guy, Dante. I'm gonna butcher pronunciations. I don't even know them. This guy, Dante Quinterno.
Okay.
Argentinian who
Okay.
did this book in the like I think he started in the 30s and like 30s, 40s, 50s into the 60s. He had this book called Paderuzu. And I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
And then this is where like uh so now I'm kind of all over the place. So I already knew about Carlos Nine's work and
You
he's
did.
Argentinian and I got introduced to him when I studied under James McMullen. Someone brought his work into class and like there was this whole like Franco-Belgian comics thing that's been around for a long time, but also like early days of the internet, like you could sort of see more stuff. So Carlos Nine was someone I kind of got inspired by, and I knew he was Argentinian.
Okay.
So I didn't know anything about other Argentine cartoonists. And then I find this Paderuzu guy, and then I start seeing that like, oh, Walt Disney went to South America. And there's this like really interesting thing that happens through the Disney studios and all of these South American artists.
Yeah.
And I start digging into Paderuzu, which like it looks like Disney,
It
classic
does.
Disney, but from an alien planet because it's not
Right.
American.
Right. Just
It's
briefly, like, describe who the character is.
he there's
He's Popeye, sort of, right?
he's Popeye. Yeah, he's Popeye. I think he's
Yeah.
got super strength. Actually, I pulled here's like a I in my digging, which was fun too. I like no one was looking for this stuff, so I found people who would like have an original for sale on eBay, and I would like search on all these weird non-eBay like South American auction sites and stuff, and I'd find stuff, and then I would write the sellers and be like, "Hey, do you have more?" And they'd be like, we got a lot. And, so like, and this is like, I was in New York, I had a little bit of money, like had a job, like, family and kids, like, so
Right.
I would be like, well, maybe I'll get a drawing in the mail or maybe I won't. So like, here's like a really, a fun illustration.
Ah,
But like, yeah, he's like moving mines out of
that
cruise ships, which
that's beautiful.
it's a beautiful drawing, and I love like the composition of it. And like most of it, I can't read Spanish.
Right.
Uh, if I had more time, maybe I would have like learned to read this stuff. So like even when you say like describe who he is, like I kind of can't because I
Right.
really know the content of the strips all that well. But there's him,
Right.
and he has a sidekick who's this big, chubby, really like pin-headed looking design, and they're just really fun, beautiful designs. Let me see if I
It's
can.
kind of like Asterix and Obelix
Yes,
in a
totally. Yeah.
strong way. I mean, there is like, and to say that he's like Popeye, likely Popeye came first, but it's kind of not fair. Also, it's just like it's a variation. Popeye would be our American version, but like, yeah, I mean, it's like it's a funny strong man.
Yeah. These are from the 30s, these ones I have right here. This is 30.
Yeah, those are really beautiful comics, and they're gloriously drawn.
Here's this. This is the cover of this other one. But like what was so cool about them is that they're magazines and like the Paderuzu comic would be in the magazine, but there's also other cartoonists. So this is like food for how my brain works is
Right.
like I'm looking at these strips and then I run across another name of someone and I see a
Right.
signature and this is DeVito. I'm like, well,
Right.
who's this DeVito guy? And it seems like it seems like Quinterno is drawing Paderuzu covers and comics and he's the guy. But then at some point the covers are all this guy DeVito. And I'm like,
Right.
who's this DeVito guy? And then I start going down this other rabbit hole, which is this guy DeVito, who then kind of becomes famous for doing these like kind of like 60s like like swinging girl stuff. And he's also an Argentine. His name's Guillermo DeVito, and he's doing this like super weird, crazy stuff. And then I'm
Right.
writing these people, and I'm like, "Do you have any DeVito?" And they're like, "We got a ton of course we do." So like, so I start like collecting stuff, and like, is this a DeVito?
Have you ever been to Argentina?
Never been.
It
Uh,
sounds like it's calling to you, Uncle Phil.
Like, look at this. This is an original. Like, look at this. Look at
Wow.
these cars.
Wow.
So I start just kind of collecting these strips and looking at this cart just for the cartooning. And I'm like, this stuff is just so beautiful and strange.
And the Paderuzu magazine is it doesn't look like it's for children. It looks like it's for adults. Is that
It's
correct?
not. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
I think the story. and it's, I am not
Well,
an
just
expert.
looking at some of the ads and stuff, or the, I mean, children don't want to read that much copy, but there's a lot of typeset in there.
So
So I'm assuming it's for adults
I
or for
think,
whoever.
yeah, I think the story is that like it was for a broader audience. I think that there was this boom, from what I understand, in South American comics, and then and illustration, and these like humor magazines. And then someone told me that like it all kind of came crashing down, I think in the late 60s, early 70s, where like I think the government, I don't know which governments, there's, a lot of countries, lots of different political environment down there. But at some point, either in Argentina or in Argentina, Chile also has a really big cartooning movement. Then,
Mm,
like, the government just sort of put the kibosh on these
mm,
magazines because they just saw the influence that they had on people and on pop culture, and it
huh.
all kind of went away
Mm,
because they just sort, I don't know, I don't know what happened. I don't know if the states took over the stuff, but yeah, these humor magazines just disappeared. So like, yes, Paruzu I think is more of a family one, and then
okay.
like the more traditional, like the humor magazine that we sort of kind of know about, the more adult one starts
Yeah.
happening. So this is a Chilean one. This is called El Pingüino.
Oh my God.
And this guy is one of my favorite artists. This guy's name's Peppo, who does these covers, and they're just so beautiful and so like, I don't know, any kids watching this, be
I
careful.
I, I don't know that woman, so
Uh,
uh,
but like, I mean, like this is like you can see some of the like influences. Like this is, you can feel some of the like Don Flowers or
right,
uh, Hank Ketchum influence on some of this stuff. But
right,
like these drawings aren't very good. But these magazines are full of different artists' work, and I would
right.
just find a gem and be like, "Who's that guy?
Ah, but
What do they do?"
that's amazing. That's just so you though too, because like I'd be like, oh, it'd be cool to see, you know, more Help magazines by Kurtzman, and you're like, yeah, I wonder what they were doing in Argentina and
But
Chile.
but it's not that. It's truly I tumble, like it's not like I don't go what's happening in Argentina. I go like
Right. You go down tunnels. Yeah.
I go down tunnels and they're all connected. And I'm a really curious person when it comes to creativity and when it comes to this kind of stuff. And like I really mean it. Like there was this sweet spot where like yeah, I love the internet. Access to information is so interesting and exciting. But there was this moment in time where it was like just so much fun. It was like there was this inflection of like access, information, putting stuff out there, the ability to connect with people. Before it was like, and
Ramped up to 12.
it's ramped up to 12, or now it's like you don't know what's real, it's not real. Like,
Yeah.
there's like all this other stuff that's out in the world, or like everything's being monetized. Like
Yeah.
it was just fun. And it was like the internet, not only did it connect people, but it connected the world, and the world felt so much smaller. So like, I mean, right, pre-internet, how would you ever find out about this comic, right? You'd have to like know someone who either was from Argentina, whose dad gave them a shoebox full of this stuff, and then you would have to know that person. Like
Right.
there was no way that this stuff would come across anyone's desk. Like literally, it's from thousands and thousands and thousands of miles away, and like
Somebody at
had,
Disney probably knew. But
but
that's
like
about it.
but this about animation artists and cartoonists also, is people don't like sharing. They love talking about it, but they often are like they hoard. People like hoarding the things that they like, I find. Where like
Right.
there's like like I'm gonna show you something, but it's sort of like our secret. It's like, it's like I'm gonna let you in on this secret, and it's this amazing artist that no one else knows about.
Right.
Don't ruin it by getting too many people excited about this artist.
Right. Well, I have to admit that was going through my head as you were showing Powder It was like whoever watches this, the 12 people that will watch this are like, oh fuck, I gotta find some Argentinian comics now. What
Yeah,
the fuck?
and I hope they do. And I
Yeah,
guess,
well, you're just breaking that, you just broke that paradigm, to use a word.
well,
Like you just shared, so I'm
yeah.
not sure that's necessarily true. We like to be the ones, generally speaking, we like to be the ones that know. or that found
Yeah.
something, and then we like to be the ones that share it. Generally
Yeah.
speaking, not always,
Yeah.
but yeah.
So so what's cool though, and I don't we don't have to talk about this for too much longer, but like I was kind of tumbling into this stuff through this kind of Native American indigenous people representation side triggered by Jimmy Swinnerton. And then also Shane kind of came across DeVito through the kind of girly pinup
Girl.
side.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
on his sites, all of a sudden he started posting some DeVito.
Okay.
And I would see him posting DeVito. And I think Shane and I wrote each other about DeVito. And like we sort of were both found this guy, at a really similar moment in time. Maybe Shane knew for years before, and I'm sure there's other cartoonists who are like, "Oh, I'm not about that guy for a million years." But like, I'm
Right.
not claiming I discovered this guy, but it's that
Oh,
I
no,
discovered
no.
it for me. I discovered it for me, and um, it's just cool. It's just really, it was a
Well,
fun thing.
yeah, you discovered it for me too. That's how I know about it.
Yeah.
So, but it is fascinating. I mean, and it's fantastic cartooning.
It's so good. It's
It's
so good,
really, really good.
and it's like, there's a few of these guys that just do work. And what I love is like their influences are some of them are probably similar, but some are wildly different. And they arrive at solutions that are like related to other visual solutions that we know and feel, but like through a different lens. It's like a spice. It's like when you go to a different country and you're like, this is delicious. I've never tasted this before. And it's because there's literally an ingredient that like just we don't have, or that
Right.
is in, that isn't on shelves or just didn't, just never made it to North America. And it's like,
Right.
this is a crazy flavor. And like when you taste something that you've never tasted before,
Right.
you kind of like get it. Like it's almost like I love equating things to food or different sensations. Like it's hard to imagine like hearing a sound you've never heard, but like or it's hard to
Right.
imagine seeing a color you've never seen.
Right.
Like that's almost so abstract, but like you can imagine tasting something that you've never tasted before because we've all done that. And I think like seeing cartooning like this was kind of like that. Was like I'm seeing something that I've never seen.
Right.
How is this
Right.
possible?
It feels familiar, but I've never seen that before.
Never seen that before. And
Yeah.
I can't quite put a finger
Right.
on it, but it's like and I don't and this is why I tumble is I don't focus too deep on like what's that ingredient. I go, I need more of that flavor. Show me
Yeah,
more.
you're really good at that. Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
fun. It's really
It
fun.
is. And it is. It's like, seeing a David Lynch movie. You recognize what you just seen, but you've never seen it before. I mean, it hits you. I mean, it for those of the viewers out there who are not David Lynch fans, and there's always something like that. But
Sure.
for us, it might be you could equate it with a David Lynch movie. It's like, I've sat in the. I remember in L.A. I was watching Lost Highway with Chris Riccardi and Lynn Naylor, and my mouth was just like this because I was like, I was so happy and so freaked out at the same time. It was a great
Yeah.
experience, and yeah, and that's what you're talking about. I mean, it's like it's experiencing something that but for the first time.
Yeah. And the other thing too, I think that like this is like it's a tangent, but like taste changes. And I think the only way your own personal taste can change is if you taste stuff again. So like I have loved things so passionately and then I fall out of love with them. And it's not that I like won't love it again, but I'll come back. And I've seen my taste change and what I'm into changes or like what I find interesting or appealing visually changes. And like
Right.
and I think that's part of the tumble process is I think at some point I just accepted that like I want to continue to evolve and I want you know, I don't want to just like the same thing forever. Like
Yeah.
it's not that exciting for me. Like I
No.
kind of like I want to travel. Like that's sort of how
You are a traveler. I mean, that does sound right. I should there's a couple things. I should let you go. We've been talking for a little more than an hour, but let me ask you. So I got a few um I got a few questions I'm asking everyone. I'm gonna try a new one actually. Just quickly. Mickey Mouse or Bugs Bunny?
How's that quick? Bugs Bunny.
It's a good answer. If I ask you, uh, what's the first comic book story that enters your head? What is it?
First comic book story that enters my head.
Yeah, I mean an
Um,
actual from like a magazine, not fucked up story that you
yeah.
encountered at San Diego Con or something.
What if who's or was it what if? Yeah, who's watching the Watcher?
What? That's wow. I don't know what I expected you to say, but I didn't expect you to say that. What is it about that? I don't even know that issue. What happens?
I think it was a comedy issue of What If. And I loved What If.
Okay.
Because I think, and I didn't read all the books, but to me, What If was really cool because it was a really easy way for me to go, oh, this is different than what's actually happening.
Right. You didn't
So like,
like what was
so
normally
in
happening.
one issue, I can like understand the alternate universe of something. And I think the comedy issue was, yeah, what if no one, or it was who's watching the Watcher, or no one is watching the Watcher, I think is what it was called.
Okay.
And I
Interesting.
just remember thinking it was great. I think it's a comedy issue. And I think,
There is a comedy issue of What If. I
I think
remember
it's nice.
that. Yeah, okay. That's a good. I mean, I like that. I like that I don't know what you're gonna
Also
say.
like, in this fun days of me in the late 80s, early 90s getting comics, like you could like, whatever, send $15 in and you get like a grab bag, comic book grab bag.
From
And
where?
I would like these like online, they weren't online, there was no internet. Like you had these mail-in comic book stores and it'd be like
Really?
random, like 20 random comics for $20.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
and I feel like I bought those like when I was like trying to collect and build a collection. And I feel like there was always what if reprints or something in there. So I feel like I had a collection of what if at some point. And that issue, I don't remember what happens in it. I think there's like an image of, this is strange. And if it's not true, I don't know why this is in my head. Like the classic Marilyn Monroe with the like with the vent pushing up
Yeah,
her
yeah, yeah, yeah.
dress. I feel like there's a Watcher illustration of like the Watcher, like, with his purple robe, blue robe with the Marilyn Monroe in
A
that
white
issue.
robe. White and blue.
White robe, the Watcher had a white robe. I can't
White
remember.
robe. All right, that's good. If that drawing didn't exist, it should now. Uh, what was my other question? Quick question. An artist whose work you didn't like when you were younger, but you love now.
Oh man, you're asking me an artist whose work I didn't like when I was younger, but I love now. An artist whose work I didn't like when I was younger, but I love now.
And maybe I should ask that question at the beginning of these conversations because that
Uh,
seems to throw people. It's funny, I
uh,
can answer it real quick.
Rothko.
Whoa, that's a good answer. What was the evolution of there?
I think Amanda loves Rothko. So my wife Amanda is also an amazing artist, and she's got like the incredible visual taste, and she has like a color perfect eye, which is
Okay.
just the best and worst thing ever. Because if I'm like, hey, take a look at this thing I'm making, she's like, oh, those colors are. Uh,
Well, you and I do have
it's
funny senses of color. I will say that about us. But
so,
so
but
Amanda's tried showing you like Rothko in the
she
past.
loves Rothko, and I was like, I don't really get it. I don't really get Rothko, and I think modern art was tough for me for a long time. And I think, I don't know where we were. I think Rothko, like, I just didn't get it. And then I remember a teacher in Stephen Gaffney, who's a good friend and a great teacher. I remember at one point he was like, part of the reason why Rothko is amazing is he's technical. Like the way he mixed his pigments and his paints, like those paintings still look the way they did.
Oh,
Like
wow.
that's a huge part of the Rothko achievement, which to me, cool, but like didn't like make me love Rothko more.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, something at some point happened, and it had to be in a gallery or in a museum, which I'm not in as often as I wish I was. But like
Yeah. Yeah.
at some point, I walked into a room, and there's Rothko on a wall, and I just went, holy shit.
Yeah. I mean,
I get it.
it's funny because though, I mean, uh, it's great when we evolve and our tastes evolve. And that's what kind of why I asked that question. And, I mean, Rothko for you was the David Lynch films for your friend, talking about
Yeah.
him, and, but you have to stick with stuff. You don't have to. It's not required, but it's nice. It's nice when you evolve and your tastes evolve and you finally see the thing that had someone else's mouth hanging open. That's kind of cool.
Yep.
So anyway, thanks for doing this,
It's fun.
Uncle
Thank you for
Phil,
asking me to do
Uncle
it.
Philip, Rinda, Mr. Rinda, Uncle Philly. So before we go, I want to tell my best. This is the Uncle Phil story I tell, not just to up and coming animators, but to everybody. I mean, I've told some of my dearest friends who have nothing to do with animation, who are in a period of transition, or who don't know what to do next with their life, or who are afraid to go on to the next thing. And everybody has imposter syndrome.
Hmm.
Maybe Phil does. I wouldn't know because
I definitely do.
because this is, maybe you do, but this is the best. This is one of the best life lesson stories I've ever heard or ever told or ever experienced. Because this was my first opportunity to be an art director on this fabled, go pixelated right now with a voice change on me, this Disney, quote unquote, Disney production called Kappa. And so I was really excited. So the first person I wanted to hire was Phil Rinda. And it was back in the days when, Flash was still a going concern. I didn't know Flash, but I didn't have to. I was an art director. And so, but everybody that I hired had to know Flash. And so, I don't know if I messaged you or emailed you or what, but I got in contact with you and I said, I'm art directing this Disney project. The only thing is you have to know Flash. Do you know Flash? And you wrote back to me and you said, absolutely. Absolutely, I know Flash. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a slam dunk right there. And so the first week I think you were the first artist to arrive. You were the first
Yeah.
hired, and you were the first to arrive. And there was a very small staff for the first week or two. And then we've hired some really great artists. So you're the first. And so but at the end of the first week, the people that had hired me, this was a studio called Funny Garbage. They made their reputation doing flash animation. And so one of the bosses at the studio came up to me privately and said, "Phil's really good. Phil's really, really good. Like he's just acing it." And I was like, "Yeah. I mean, it's Uncle Phil. What were you, 24, 23 by that point?"
Yeah. Yeah. 23
Anyway,
maybe.
so yeah, I'm like, "Yeah, yeah. So that looks good on me." So I go to you and I say, Phil, like, they're really impressed with your skills and and you're just acing it, and like they really, this is a Flash studio and they're like, they think you're the shit. And I said to you, like, where did you learn, how did you learn Flash? And you got the Uncle Phil grin that you have on now, and you go to me, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm making it up. Which is the best. And it was the best thing ever. It was the best thing ever because, and I'm not saying like faking it is the best thing ever. I'm saying like, there is a thing, and I've done this myself. You fake it till you make it. But it was just like this absolute confidence that like no matter what, you were just gonna come through. Like this was an opportunity for you to learn. This was an opportunity for you to do something that would seem worthwhile, that you were going to enjoy, and you were going to learn something, and you were going to just connect and make my end connect with the rest of the production and your end connect, which is like the best learning story ever. And I, to this day, like I said, I tell friends older than me and I tell young people that I'm teaching, like, just do it. You don't know. I mean, and it's
Yeah.
like, just do it. I mean, there's no failure because it's like you're just gonna learn. Like, and
Yeah.
that's what's the worst thing that could happen? You're just gonna learn. You're never gonna die. it's all right. Just go in positively and say you're gonna do it. I don't even feel like I'm like giving that story its full justice as I tell it now. I feel like I've told it better, but it's like the quintessential Uncle Phil story to me.
It's yeah, it's like it's pretty that is a true story, and it is like how I don't know, try to do a lot of stuff, you know. I mean,
Yeah,
like for me, I
but you
was
lied
like,
to me is my point,
well,
motherfucker.
I've told people like, like if lying will get you the job, like lie. And it's
Well,
crazy.
it's not
And it's
lying, in fact, because you actually delivered.
well, I
So,
delivered, right? So this is the thing is like, there's like what is being asked, right? So like is to me was like the interesting thing. It's like when someone says like, hey, like one last box to check, and either you're gonna get the job or not, you know, like are you, can you do this? Like for me, I'm like, it's a no-brainer. Like
right,
you say yes, you can do the thing.
right,
And like, and then I'm like, well, if I said no, I don't get the job. If I say yes and I fall on my face, I lose the job. But at
right,
least I got to try. So
right,
like, so for me, to me, those questions are like, there are questions on the surface, but they're also kind of trick questions where it's
right,
like, this is about like, like you're gonna come across stuff that you've never done or don't know how to do. Like
right.
how do you respond in those moments? And like for me, like the one thing I could lean on was like, I've learned other pieces of software in the past. Like, why can't I learn this one? And I'm just going to say I can do it, like, and oh no, I remember like going in and being like, oh boy, I'm in trouble because this is like, these people really know this thing. And I'm surrounded by people who really know it. But I'm like, but I know how to draw. I can draw digitally. I can check the creative boxes on this. And like to me,
Right.
that is the hardest part. I'm like,
Right.
I'll figure out how to do it. And I do remember like week two, week three, like I was teaching people Flash, or not even
You
three.
were,
Yeah,
you
maybe it was
were,
like a month in. It was like a little bit as we'd hire people and they'd be onboarded, I'd be like teaching people how to do stuff. And like, and I was, and in my brain, I'm like, this is so ridiculous
yeah,
because
because you,
I,
you, it felt like you were a ringer, and then that allowed me to like hire like Chris George, who's an amazing draftsman, but I don't
yeah,
think Chris openly didn't know very much about drawing in Flash.
yeah.
Isn't that
We
correct?
probably knew the same amount. And like, but he just was like, I mean, Chris is an amazing draftsman. So like,
Yeah.
and like we worked on Venture and like
Right.
he's amazing. So like, yeah, I don't think he knew as much as I claimed I did. But I
Right.
probably was like a day ahead of people where I would be like, oh, what you need to do. And I literally learned it that morning. And I
Right.
like figured it out and I would just, and it would just keep going. I remember this is like a funny one where like Chris George I love because he loves like um like the process of drawing. Like he's such a like the way he hold I love how people physically draw. It's like one of my favorite things to watch. And like Chris has just a beautiful, beautiful line and all this stuff. And I remember his files would be massive. And at some point, for whatever reason, it was like, Phil, why are Chris's files exponentially larger than everyone else's files? And it was like, again, number one, why am I having to diagnose this? And I'm like, I guess I got to figure out why Chris's files are bigger. So open up one of Chris's files. And like often we would design and we would put white, instead of like a new sheet of paper, we would put like a white block behind
Right.
our drawings. We could
Yeah,
change the opacity.
I'm
And we
finding
would
old
do
files where I did that. I'm like, I don't even know why I did this. Anyway,
Yeah, so like we would put these white things in there. I think it's because we were paper people, and it was like the easiest way for us to think about like an overlay
I
was like
guess.
we would put white down,
Yeah.
and I would put the white down, and Flash is a vector program, it's super nerdy, right? But like I would just make a box, and I would make a white box, and that go behind stuff. And white boxes are not that much data because you're just whatever the four corners and the whatever it is. Like the math for a box is easy. Chris
Right.
wouldn't do white boxes. Chris would take a brush and he would hand paint his white behind his layers because he just like, I think he just really enjoys the physical nature of drawing. So Chris would
Right.
do that. And his files are massive because he loved drawing. And
Right.
he just, even something as simple as like putting a white sheet down. For Chris, it was like a creative endeavor, and he would draw these in. And as soon as I realized that, and be like, oh, I could erase this layer, put in a white block, and his files went from like whatever 300 megabytes per illustration to like two. It was like, oh, because Chris's files literally are full of data of him
Right.
him loving drawing this.
Yeah, yeah. See, I'm kind of in the Chris George school. Like, I just love. For me, it's just an act of drawing, and it's all about the drawing, and the information is inconsequential. But the other thing I want to point out about the "I don't know what I'm doing" story is that it's not just enough to have a positive attitude. The thing was, is like you taught yourself Flash
Yeah,
that week. It
yeah,
wasn't just like you were just like looking over your shoulder continuously and saying like, I don't know what
no,
I'm doing. I guess I'm gonna be caught soon. It was like you actively went into it and dug around and made sure that you knew what you're doing. To
yeah.
the point where like people have been doing this for years. Just kind of thought that you knew it implicitly.
Yeah,
Uh,
and like I don't know, like I would hit a wall and I would go up to someone who did know it better than me. And I
yeah,
would say, "Hey, how do you do X, Y, and Z?" Jared Deal, Chris Burns, like these guys were doing that like shorties watching shorties shows, and like Flash was like, there was a couple of Flash crews in New York that were coming out of Augenblick or places that were people really did know this stuff. People at
right,
Funny Garbage knew this stuff. And I would
right,
just be like, "Hey, I'm having a weird problem." And then
right,
and then they would just be like, "Oh yeah, this is the issue."
right.
Uh, and I just ask, like, and that's also like a funny thing where like people sometimes don't go engage with someone else.
I don't
Like
like to ask. I like to
I'm,
flounder.
I can't. I'm having a hard time drawing the busy bee on the Venture Brothers. I'm gonna go ask a guy who literally I have a draw magazine with his drawings in it that I don't know him. This issue just came out. He's in this room. And this is my DeStefano origin story, which is that we went to Midtown Comics, the issue of Draw. Draw was an amazing magazine,
Right.
and your issue had just come out. I bought it, and like similar to seeing something and being like, I don't understand what this is. I always thought I was gonna be a Disney guy, and I saw that Draw, and I was like, it was all you, and I was like, there are drawings in here that are amazing. Like I don't understand what I'm looking at. This is incredible. And I remember Mike saying to Mike Foran, like, have you seen, like, you got to pick up this draw. This guy's work is incredible. And Mike Foran looked at me, he said, are you kidding? And I said, what are you talking about? He goes, that guy is sitting right there. And I was like, what? Like, my mind blown. Like, I had no clue. And like, it was, I think, your first week on Venture, because design we started before story. So I had probably been there
Yeah.
for a couple of weeks at that point. And he was like,
Yeah.
he's sitting right there. And I was like, oh my God. And I think
Yeah.
probably when you were looking for a napkin, I'm like, oh, that's the drawback
that
guy.
might,
I'm gonna
that
get
that
him a
might have
napkin.
been, and
And
that's
then,
fortuitous that I needed a napkin at that point.
when I came across that busy bee, I was like, I got assigned this thing, and I don't know how to draw a classic cartoon character. I don't know what
Yeah.
I'm doing. But I have this magazine, and there's a guy sitting right there that I know can do it. So I'm just gonna go ask him to help me. And like, you weren't even in design.
I
Like,
wasn't. I was a storyboard. Yeah.
And like I think that was like this is me is like I'm just gonna go ask someone who I think can help me. I'm just gonna go ask them to help me.
That's awesome. I mean, that's like these are the best Uncle Phil stories ever. Like, and that's just so you. That's so cool. We should all try and be a little more Uncle Phil, I think.
We should all read Aggie Mac by
Well,
Hal Raskin.
that's no. See, this is the Uncle Phil things you shouldn't do. Um, Necessarily, you can if you want to. It won't hurt you. I Look at Pataruzo before you look at Hal Rasmussen. He's not a bad artist. It's just.
No, you 100% true. I would say.
I know whereof I speak sometimes on these things. All right. Well, I should let you go, Uncle Phil, but it was great. Thanks for chatting with me.
Hey man, super fun. Thanks for doing this. This is awesome. I can't wait to watch your other conversations with a bunch of your weirdo friends. I appreciate
I have a lot of weirdo. That's the beauty of this. I'm having conversations because I have weirdo friends, and we have good conversations that I figure I should just get them down,
That's awesome.
recorded. All right. So I'm gonna end recording now.
Thank you.
All right. Here we go.
Like and subscribe. Like
Here
and
we,
subscribe.
here we go. Here we go. Okay. Stop.